Miguel Diaz.
Especially Donna, who had dreamed her whole life of having children and being a mother. But that wasn't how their story would be written. The Ludden couple was about to receive the best gift they could imagine.
Here comes our special delivery. Oh, look. Oh,
As they began this new chapter of their lives, Mark and Donna showed their new baby girl all the love that they had to give. Donna's dream had finally come true. She was, by all accounts, the happiest woman alive.
Mommy's feeling very comfortable these days with Bailey, and I think we've sort of bonded a little bit.
911 emergency, emergency.
Help me! My God, my wife's breathing.
Okay, you need an ambulance?
I need everything. I need everything.
So loud.
Welcome back to Crime A to Z.
What am I doing? Playing some
where we
RuneScape,
detail
bud. What you been
cases of
saying?
criminals
How you
from the
been?
very
Long time no
beginning
see.
Until well after other reporting ends. Today, we'll be talking about the both heartbreaking and evil case of Mark and Donna Winger. It's another one of those cases that you walk away from wondering which people are the ones you should really be terrified of. Join us to see how the promise of a high-powered nuclear physicist, an ill-fated shuttle ride, and dreams as big as the sky spiral into a heartbreaking trail of misery, devastation, and a little justice. And before we get started, as usual,
I say that
if you like how we
myself.
present
Yeah, it's
this
been
case, we
it's been a
always
few
truly
months.
appreciate you hitting like, subscribe, and share. Let's go.
Been a little while, that's for sure. Life change happens to the best of us, man. Happens to the best of us.
Donna Ellen Brown was born in Hollywood, Florida on November 10, 1963, to parents Sarah Jane Brown and Robert Cash Brown. The couple had 3 children. Donna, the oldest, along with 2 younger daughters, Jenny and Michelle. Donna was extremely close to both her parents and her sisters. With Donna being the oldest, she had a motherly instinct and a strong desire
Oh, bro, I
to
was
have
gonna say
children of
just
her own
shroud
someday.
me underneath the fucking
The
falling
Browns were
debris.
a tight-knit Jewish family. They lived a comfortable life with
Redeem
Robert working
hit.
as an insurance agent and Sarah Jane being a partner at Cornish Distributors,
You're a
a
funny
newspaper
guy.
distributorship in Middletown, New York. When Donna was 17, her parents divorced. And her
What's around
mother,
the
Sarah
diary?
Jane, later married Ira Drescher.
Warming up.
Donna was magnetic. She was extremely kind, outgoing, and made anyone she was around feel instantly comfortable. She was happy, and she loved making everyone around her happy as well. She would light up a room whenever she walked in. When Donna was 24, she was working as an operating room technician. Back then, blind dates were still a thing. And Donna's co-worker, Greg Winger, was talking Donna up about his brother, Mark, who had just
Rolling
returned
up
from serving
now.
a year in Korea
Respect, though.
as a lieutenant. Greg offered to set them up on a blind date, and Donna agreed. Mark Allen Winger was born on November 26, 1962, in Elyria, Ohio. His parents, Jared and Sally Winger, were a technical manager for Eveready Products and a real estate agent, respectively. The Winger family was also Jewish and had 3 children. Mark was the youngest, along with his older brother and sister. Mark was ambitious and bright. He earned a bachelor's degree in physics from Virginia Military Institute and aspired to become a nuclear engineer. He was smart, attractive, and by the time he met Donna, quite successful, working as a physicist for a laboratory manufacturing company. Very impressive. And Donna thought so too. They hit it off instantly on their blind date. While Donna was vibrant and outgoing, Mark was quiet and reserved, and he was funny. He made Donna laugh. They began dating, and Donna's family liked him instantly. He was a perfect match for her. They seemed to always be touching, either holding hands or sitting close together.
My dude.
Donna was always bursting with energy, and Mark was like a balance with his calm, quiet demeanor. They were in love, and things were progressing so well that in June of 1988, 6 months after they began dating, Mark proposed to Donna. She happily accepted. The families were overjoyed. Donna's sister, Jenny, laughed at how when someone marries one sister, he's married to all 3, because that's how involved they all were in each other's lives. They announced their engagement in the New York Times the following month. They got married the following year on March 4th, 1989. Once they married, Mark got a job offer in Springfield, Illinois. The couple relocated there, and Donna got a job assisting a plastic surgeon at Memorial Medical Center.
What's up,
Springfield was
Squirty?
the perfect place to raise children, especially in the neighborhood that the Wingers moved to. They were well known and well respected in both their neighborhood and in their community. By everyone's accounts, the Wingers were the perfect couple. They got great jobs, a nice home,
Who murders
and they were
who?
clearly in love. They had everything they could possibly want.
Definitely the man
Except
murdering the
a
woman.
child. The couple set out to grow their small family by having a baby. They tried for 6 years, but ultimately received the devastating news that Donna was unable to become pregnant. She had longed to become a mother for nearly her entire life. It was a heartbreaking blow.
Not much, my
Not just for
leader.
her,
What you
but
been
for Mark as
saying?
well.
What you been up to?
He had also dreamed of having a large family. The news brought some tension into the home.
Ooh.
But fortunately, their dream of not being able to have children would be short-lived. One day while Donna was at work, one of the doctors entered the room and shared that he had a
Ooh.
teenage mother who was
Come on.
going to give her baby up for adoption.
Come on, die,
He asked
bitch.
if anyone in the
Yup,
room knew
there
of
we go.
anyone who wanted to adopt a baby. The Wingers were a perfect match. and Donna
Medium
knew
clue.
that it was meant to be. On June 1st, 1995, Mark and Donna adopted a beautiful baby girl into their family. They named her Bailey Elizabeth Winger.
How do you feel, Donna?
I'm overwhelmed. And I just want her to know that it just so happens that the day she's coming home to us is the anniversary of our engagement of Mark and I.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Here comes
She
our
seems like such a
special
loving woman.
delivery.
Damn.
Oh, look. Oh,
Bailey was the light of their lives. Donna said that she knew the moment the baby was placed into her arms that she was hers. Their bond was instant and unmistakable. Her sister
bond
said it
was
best
instant. Yo,
when she
Smokey, what's up,
reflected
man?
that becoming a mother was probably the best thing that had ever happened in Donna's life.
Mommy's feeling very comfortable these days with Bailey, and I think we've sort of bonded a little bit.
Oh, I think we bonded a lot.
Family and friends were there to show their love and support for the baby. One
You've been
friend
saying,
in
my
particular,
dude?
Deanne Schultz, who Donna had become
You're gonna
close
deem
with
toe?
at work at the
Alright.
hospital, was
You
invaluable.
don't have to give me a minute
She
here,
helped
shiny
Donna
boy.
learn the ropes of being a new mom and supported her with whatever she needed.
This is just the sweetest little niece.
She was an instant aunt. She and her husband John would often spend time and go out with the Wingers. When Bailey was 3 months old, Donna took her on a trip to visit her family in Florida for a week while Mark was away on a business trip in Tennessee. Upon her return, her mother had ordered a shuttle to pick her up from the airport, not wanting Donna to have to worry about caring for anything other than Bailey during her
Come on,
travels.
hit him.
Once she arrived at the airport, she met up with the shuttle, and they set out on the 1.5-hour journey.
How's
from the
everybody
airport
been
to the
doing?
Wingers' home. Although it was a shuttle van, Donna and the baby
How
were
the
the
fuck
only
has everybody
passengers
been
that day,
doing?
which suited her just fine to start. But not for long. Instead of the ride being one that helped Donna relax and enjoy a leisurely trip home, it did the opposite. The driver began speaking irrationally, sharing with Donna that he often spoke to a godlike spirit named Dom, and that he experienced visions of killings and other disturbing comments. He also began flirting with her, mentioning how he liked older women. He drove erratically and exceeded the speed limit. Donna was terrified. She wasn't certain how the trip was going to end and just wanted to make it home. She did. Shaken, she shared her experience with Deanne, and then with Mark via telephone since he was still away on business. He was very concerned. He made Donna write down exactly what happened, including every detail of what the driver said. In the days following the encounter, they received strange calls at their home
Get 'em,
where
bud.
the
Do
caller
your
would
thing, bro.
breathe and hang up. Mark was convinced it was the same driver and filed a complaint with the shuttle van company, BART Transportation, claiming that their driver was harassing them.
Oh, I
The
think I've
company
seen this
suspended
before.
the driver, whose name was Roger.
I think I've seen this before.
6 days after the bizarre and frightening shuttle encounter, Mark was working out on the treadmill in the basement when he said he heard a loud bump or crash. Worried that Donna had either fallen or dropped the baby, he rushed upstairs to the master bedroom and found Bailey laying on the bed. Then, hearing screams from elsewhere, he grabbed his gun and rushed out to the hallway to find his 31-year-old wife on the floor with a man striking her in the head repeatedly with a hammer.
Yeah, I've definitely
Mark
seen this
aimed the
before.
gun at the intruder and shot him.
911 emergency, what's your emergency?
Help me! My God, my my wife's breathing.
Okay, you need an ambulance?
I need everything. I need everything.
Springfield Police.
Yes, help me.
What's the problem?
I just shot this man in my house.
He's inside your house right now?
He beat my wife.
Is he in there right now?
Yes,
Does he have a gun?
their brains are everywhere.
Where's the man at?
He's laying on the floor.
Is he dead?
I don't know. He's making weird sounds. 20.
Sir, slow down. I can't understand you. Slow down. Is the man still in your house?
Yes, he's laying there on the floor with a bullet in his head.
Did you shoot him?
Yes, I shot him. He was killing my wife. Please, my baby's crying. My baby's crying. I gotta go. I'll call you right back.
The 911 operator called Mark back.
Hello?
Winger?
Yes, yes.
This is the police department. We've got officers en route. I need to know what's going on there.
My wife is dying on the floor.
Okay, is she still alive?
I think so.
Okay, we've got ambulance en route and we've got police officers en route. Where is the gun?
I left it on the table. It's on the table. It's on the table. Please,
Okay.
God, please come here.
We've got people on the way.
Okay.
Who is this man?
I don't know who he is.
He's still inside the house?
Yes, he's laying
A
on
long
the floor.
bone.
Okay, I gotta hold my
You don't want to pull a crooks and bury it.
Okay, are you Mark Winger?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay, and your wife is Donna?
Yes, she is.
When did the man come there?
I know, a few minutes ago. Wait, I gotta get to my wife. Please, just let me get to my wife. I won't hang up. Okay?
Okay, we've got officers en route.
Okay, my door's open.
Okay.
Okay.
Officers arrived on the scene to find both Donna and the intruder, lifeless on the floor, but still alive. Donna was face down on the floor in the dining room, and several feet away, lying on his back, was the killer. The first officer on the scene, Officer Dave Behringer, aware that the victims would be whisked off for emergency treatment soon, promptly ran out to his car to retrieve his Polaroid camera and snap a few pictures of the crime scene and the victims.
What a smart fucking dude.
Shortly after that, the victims were indeed rushed off to hospitals for treatment. Police began questioning Mark. He described what happened and told officers that the hammer the intruder used in the attack
I've
was
definitely
his,
seen this before.
that Donna had left it out as a reminder to hang a hat rack. He explained how he was working out on the treadmill in the basement, heard commotion, then ran and found the baby on the bed in the master bedroom. He said Donna would never leave the baby like that. Then he heard Donna screaming. So he grabbed his gun, found the man beating Donna, and shot him. He said the man fell backward, landing on his back, but then began to sit up, facing him. So Mark shot him again. While he was
Bang,
recounting
bang.
the events, Detective Charlie Cox entered the
Enjoy
room.
that toke, brother.
Mark asked Detective Cox who the strange attacker was. But the detective, who had already retrieved the intruder's wallet and knew exactly who he was, avoided his question. He asked Mark to focus on telling them what happened. After Mark asked Cox who it was enough times without receiving an answer, he finally asked Cox if the intruder's name was Roger. Cox felt that he finally had to answer, and told him yes, that his name was Roger Harrington. Mark responded, "Oh my God, this is the guy that's been harassing us all week." He explained that Roger was a shuttle driver that engaged in a frightening conversation with Donna less than a week before that. He told them he had called Roger that very morning, telling him to stop harassing his wife, and that he had filed a police report against him. What Detective Cox was not sharing with Mark was that he was already very familiar with Roger Harrington. Cox happened to own a trailer park in town, and Roger and his wife had rented a trailer from him. There, Harrington had been involved in domestic disputes where Cox himself had to get involved. So he considered 27-year-old
No.
Roger to be quick to anger, which fit
It
with
just
what he was
moves
seeing.
me underneath that. Like,
While being questioned, Mark asked detectives if he could have a Diet Coke. So Detective Doug Williamson, the other lead detective on the case along with Cox, went to the refrigerator to get him the drink. That's when he noticed a note on the refrigerator. It was the multi-page note that Donna had written detailing her account with the shuttle driver. It fit perfectly with what Mark had described. Outside the home, Harrington's car was parked on the wrong side of the street, facing oncoming traffic. In it, they found a note that had Mark's name and address, along with a time, 4:30. Also in his car, they found a knife and a tire iron with black electrical tape around the handle. Inside the house, they found a yellow coffee mug and cigarettes on the kitchen table, both belonging to Harrington. They also found a hammer covered in blood. The detectives consoled Mark, assuring him that he had done everything he could to try to save his wife, but that both Donna and Harrington had not survived their injuries. Mark was inconsolable and called his rabbi to come help comfort him through the ordeal. Mark was also worried that he'd be arrested for shooting the attacker, but there was no cause for concern. He and his wife were considered the victims of this heinous attack. Far from a criminal, Mark was hailed a hero for shooting his wife's attacker. Officially, Donna's death was listed as a murder by Harrington, and Harrington's death was listed as justified homicide due to self-defense. The case was closed within 48 hours. After the murder, all hands were on deck from Donna's family to help ease the pain and transition for Mark and baby Bailey. Donna's mother and sister, while still grieving for their own tremendous loss, took turns traveling to Springfield to help Mark care for the baby. During the visits, they noticed that Mark was behaving strangely, not at all as they expected. He was drinking excessively and would watch movies that had incredibly violent face-to-face shooting scenes. Scenes you would think he would avoid after having just encountered one himself. But they didn't want to judge Mark and allowed him to grieve in whatever way helped him. As far as they were concerned, Mark loved Donna unconditionally and fully, so they loved him and supported him. He was every bit as much of the family as Donna was. After about 4 months of Donna's mother and sister traveling to help Mark, they got to the point where they couldn't continue traveling and recommended to Mark that he look into getting a nanny. So he did. Her name was Rebecca Simic. 23-year-old Rebecca was sweet, caring, and pretty. And everyone loved her.
My man starts
Donna's
plugging
mother and sister,
plugging
who
this
didn't
chick or
expect
something.
to like the person who would care for Bailey, given their high standards for her care, couldn't help but to love her. Rebecca loved and cared for Bailey with her whole heart, and they could see that. She was open and embraced the whole family, helping them stay a part of Bailey's life. Rebecca felt welcomed and supported by everyone involved, with one exception. Deanne, Donna's best friend, was still present, and still offered her help with Bailey at every turn. But at some point, her support became pushy. She insisted on being a part of Bailey's life, nearly to the point of trying to replace Donna, according to Rebecca. Rebecca mentioned her concerns about Deanne to Mark, but he dismissed it as Deanne still being hurt from the loss
This guy
of her
just
best
wheeling
friend.
3 broads.
Mark loved Rebecca too. A lot. So much, in fact, that after less than a year of her nannying and several late-night talks and wine, Mark announced to Donna's family that Rebecca was pregnant. Mark was thrilled. Rebecca was pleased as well, but also surprised. Mark had told her that he wasn't capable of having children, so she had not prepared for that.
Said every
The
man
couple
at the
began
one
planning their lives together.
dog ever.
Mark started attending church with Rebecca and told her they could raise their children as Christians, and that he would switch his faith to Christianity. When their family rabbi, Michael Datz, found out, he was shocked. He asked Mark how he could give up his entire life of Judaism. Mark replied, "Judaism is just too difficult and unforgiving." The rabbi responded, "Mark, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you need forgiveness for?" The couple's relationship flourished, with Mark being the epitome of the perfect partner and ultimately, husband.
There's our view on our balcony, and Prince Charming is cooking breakfast. So it's very easy to understand why I'm going to marry this man.
Mrs. Winger, on film for the first time.
The couple married in Hawaii in October of 1996. Donna's family was crushed that their beloved Donna could so easily be replaced in Mark's life just 14 months after she was murdered. By all accounts, Mark had moved on with his life. He and Rebecca moved into a 4-acre home in the suburbs of Springfield, where over the next 3 years they would have 3 children, 4 including Bailey. As their family grew, they began to pull away from Donna's family, which hurt them immensely. When Sarah Jane would get to see her granddaughter, she would often just begin to cry, reminded that her beloved daughter was not there to watch her baby grow. That would irritate Mark. He didn't want her crying around Bailey. At one point, Sarah Jane tried to give Bailey a necklace of Donna's, but Mark asked her to take it off because it made him feel bad. From that point on, relations with Donna's family only got worse. They did not get along. Then Sarah Jane received a letter from Mark stating that Bailey would no longer be calling her grandma. Heartbroken, she wrote a letter back pleading with him to reconsider, but he insisted that he was not going to allow Bailey to call her grandma. After realizing that Mark was no longer the person they knew, they came to the painful realization that they were being shut out of Bailey's life and had to accept it. But it didn't stop the grandparents from sending Bailey a card every year on her birthday. Bailey would ask Rebecca who Sarah Jane and Ira were. Rebecca would explain that they were Donna's parents and that they wanted to let her know that they loved and remembered her. Meanwhile, Mark appeared to have fully recovered from the murder, both emotionally and financially. Less than 24 hours after Donna was murdered, Mark submitted a claim against her life insurance policy and collected $150,000. He also applied for assistance from the Crime Victims Compensation Act and received the maximum that was allowed by the state at that time of $25,000. But that wasn't enough. In an attempt to make Bart pay for their negligence in hiring a homicidal driver, exactly 4 months after Donna's murder, Mark filed a multi-million-dollar wrongful death civil lawsuit against Bart Transportation and the Harrington estate. He claimed that Bart should have known that Harrington was dangerous and unfit for the job. That move would eventually prove to be one too many. Just 1 month after Winger filed the lawsuit against Bart, the detectives received a surprise visit from him. It struck them as odd, since they normally never hear back from victims after a case is closed, particularly ones who are hailed as heroes. Mark claimed he wanted to see if he could get his gun back from evidence. They had no problems with returning the gun to Mark, but in the process, he started probing. He asked them how the case was going, if it was still open, if they were doing any further interviews, etc. Detective Cox found the inquiry suspicious. His suspicions were heightened even further.
This
when
guy
Mark
got away
visited
with
the
it,
station a
and
second
his guilty
time,
conscience got
bragging
him
about getting
busted.
remarried. Doug Williamson, the other lead detective on the case, had always had his suspicions about the murder, but was overruled by higher-ups who insisted the case be closed. Cox was now beginning to agree with his partner. They both wanted the case to be reopened, but the higher-ups still wouldn't allow it based solely on their gut feelings. They needed solid evidence. And they didn't have any. Or so they thought. Mark's life had been completely transformed. He had a new wife, beautiful children, a sizable insurance payout, and even a promotion at his job in the Department of Nuclear Safety. He had distanced himself from his rabbi, his religion, and anyone who had anything to do with Donna. Things were going exactly the way he wanted them to go, until they were not. Facing a potential company-threatening settlement, Bart fought back. The company's attorneys launched their own investigation, which spanned years. Toward the end, they would be exchanging evidence with police and sharing the costs of forensic experts. Police were more than willing to do so because by that time, some 3+ years after the murders, someone was making their rounds and dropping bombshells along the way. It was Deanne Schultz, now named Deanne Anderson. Deanne had faced several devastating life challenges following Donna's murders, and it was all coming to a head. In October of 1998, just over 3 years after the murders, Rebecca took Mark to the ER when he wasn't feeling well. They ran into Deanne in the waiting room, and Deanne glared at Rebecca. After the encounter, Mark told Rebecca that they would probably hear from her again. Rebecca did not hear from her, but the police did. After seeing the couple at the ER, Deanne decided that she couldn't keep quiet any longer. Deanne had battled severe depression and other mental health issues brought on by her guilt about knowing the truth about Donna's murders. She had undergone every treatment known, to the point of utilizing electric shock therapy to treat it, being institutionalized, and much more deadly encounters. So after the chance meeting in the ER and upon her doctor's insistence, Deanne decided to come forward and confess to police all that she knew about Donna's murder. She visited police, and in exchange for immunity, she told them everything she knew. She shared that she had been having an affair with Mark, beginning just 1 month before Donna was murdered.
No, I'm good, but I'm gonna have those steaks.
6 months afterward. Deanne claimed they were in love, and Mark had even gotten them wedding rings with plans for them to marry. They talked about divorcing their spouses, but Mark's response was that it would just be easier if Donna was dead. Mark told Deanne that all she would have to do is find the body while he was out of town. She told Mark, "I don't want to have anything to do with that. I would cease to be a vital person." Mark repeatedly mentioned Donna dying, so Deanne finally told him, "I am going to divorce John. You do what you have to do." She also shared that she called Mark at some point after she saw him at the ER, to see if he would tell her he killed Donna and Harrington. While on the call, she asked him how he could live with himself. He responded that he had found Jesus Christ and that he was forgiven. Mark also told her that if she told anyone about the murders, their gooses would be cooked. And when referring to Harrington, he said, "Dead men don't talk." And that he didn't want Deanne to know the truth because ignorance is bliss. She said Mark threatened her not to tell anyone about the things he said, and she spent the last few years struggling with her guilt. Cox and Williamson were suspicious. They had interviewed Deanne on the day of the murders, and she had not mentioned any of this. So they checked the hotel records where she claimed they stayed, and they checked out. They also checked phone records and found that the pair had racked up 845 minutes of phone conversations. They began re-interviewing people, including a nanny that the Wingers tried out before Rebecca. She told police that Deanne's husband, John, had called the Wingers home once looking for Deanne. The nanny went outside and saw that Deanne's car was in the driveway and told John. She came back inside and knocked on Mark and Donna's bedroom door, and Deanne came out a short while later. The nanny told Deanne that her husband was on the phone and wanted to talk to her. They also spoke to another friend of Donna's to probe further about the couple's marriage. The friend insisted that Donna spoke openly about her marriage and everything seemed perfect to her. She did note that about 2 months before the murder, Donna felt that Deanne was beginning to become obsessive and suffocating. She said it felt like she was trying to move in on her and Mark's life. The friend also recalled how after Donna's death, Mark told her that he missed having a physical relationship and needed a woman's touch. The friend considered it a pass at her and became uncomfortable. Around the time Deanne was visiting police, Mark presented a demand of $1.5 million to Bart to settle their lawsuit out of court. The company was on the verge of making him an offer when they received a phone call from Deanne. Deanne called Bart attorney John Nolan. John asked who was calling, and she said she couldn't say, but that they should not settle with Winger. She told them she had just gone to the police, and the case was going to be reopened. Nolan was all ears, but she said she couldn't say anything further and hung up. The law firm had caller ID, so Nolan called her back and told her, "You just told us not to settle. Why?" She asked him how he got her number. Caller ID. He threatened to subpoena her, so she agreed to come in and ended up giving them a 60-page sworn statement documenting the affair and everything else she knew of. Mark withdrew the civil suit, but the horse had already left the barn and was halfway to the courthouse. With Deanne's statements resulting in the motive that was always missing, the case was reopened. The first order of business was to revisit findings from the original investigation, but when detectives went to retrieve the evidence, it was missing. It had been turned over to Winger's attorneys years ago to be used in his civil case against Bart. Handing over evidence to Winger's attorneys was the first in a long line of missteps that law enforcement acknowledged. They headed to the attorney's office to retrieve the evidence. As they were wrapping up, the attorney asked them if they wanted the 3 Polaroids he also had. Detective Cox didn't recall any Polaroids, but said sure. They turned out to be the 3 Polaroid photos that the first officer on the scene snapped before the paramedics arrived and removed the bodies. He had submitted them, but no one ever got around to actually looking at them. Those 3 elusive photos turned out to be the most impactful pieces of evidence in the case. They showed that the position of Harrington's body was facing in the same direction as Donna's. But when Mark explained how he shot Roger, he said Roger was kneeling down next to Donna's head as he was beating her. He said he shot him and that Roger fell backwards so that his feet stayed near Donna's head. The Polaroids show the exact opposite, and the blood spatter experts agreed. The pictures were irrefutable proof that what happened that night did not happen the way Mark said it did. As they explored the evidence, multiple questions surfaced. For starters, Roger's coffee mug and cigarettes on the kitchen table didn't make sense. Why would Roger bring coffee and cigarettes to a murder? Roger had 2 ideal murder weapons in his car, a knife and a tire iron already fashioned with a handle. If he had planned to murder Donna, why would he have banked on a murder weapon being inside the home instead of bringing in one of the highly effective weapons he had in his car? Also in Roger's car was that note, the one that had Mark's name and address, along with a time, 4:30. It seemed clear that the time was a meeting time. And why did it have Mark's name? Was killing Mark the original plan? Donna's body was found face down. If Mark had cradled her in his arms as he claimed, then why would he place her face down when he was done? Police also found it odd that Mark first went to the master bedroom. When you hear a noise, why would you go to your bedroom? Why not go to where the noise actually is?
Yeah.
And virtually nothing that Mark described about the murder lined up with the forensic findings. From the blood spatter on Mark's shirt and not on Roger's, to the gun's spent shell casings that were not discharged where he claimed to have shot Roger, to the location, position, and direction he said he shot him. None were consistent with findings. And then there's the 911 call. When police arrived at the scene, Mark told them that he shot Harrington twice, a few seconds apart. But at the time he made the first 911 call, he clearly referenced a single bullet he had fired.
Is the man still in your house?
Yes, he's laying there on the floor with a bullet in his head.
Did you shoot him?
Yes, I shot him. He was killing my wife.
That was shortly before he bizarrely had to hang up with 911 while his wife lay dying because his baby was crying. You can clearly hear Roger moaning in the background of the call prior to Mark hanging up. You could not hear him moaning afterward. And by the time paramedics arrived, there were 2 bullets in Roger Harrington's head. It also didn't help that Mark's version of the events seemed to vary each time he told someone. At one point, even adding in that he also struck Roger in the chest with a hammer because he was, quote, moaning and groaning. Detectives were also finding that there were quite a few people who had their suspicions about Mark and his actions around the time of the murders. Donna's father, Cash Brown, said that his son-in-law didn't act like a grieving widower. When they were taking a walk after the funeral, he said that Mark never shed a tear, as he described what happened during the murder, even though he could see that his father-in-law was crying. And both Donna's friends and family wondered why the front door was unlocked that afternoon, knowing that Donna always kept her doors locked. And according to Donna's father, one of Donna's sisters and a friend even tested out Mark's account of the events that night. One of them ran on the treadmill in the basement, while the other one fell to the floor upstairs. The person on the treadmill could not hear anything over the sound of the treadmill. In December of 1999, as
That's
both
very,
Mark and police's investigations
very
were well
nice and
underway,
everything, but
Springfield's local daily newspaper ran an article based on the
not
claims
really
that Bart made
substantial
in the
evidence.
civil lawsuit against them. Based on the findings of the blood spatter expert, Bart claimed that
the only
Winger
evidence
was
I
the
really have is
perpetrator
like
of
the
murder,
pictures.
not Harrington, and that Winger had killed both his wife and Harrington. The article did not alarm the police or Bart, who were already knee-deep into their investigations, but it most definitely alarmed Mark and Rebecca. Rebecca couldn't believe that law enforcement was wrongly targeting her husband. She stood by his side, believing they would ultimately look into everything and her husband would be cleared.
Oh,
Investigators
smart lady.
were indeed busy working on the case, but not necessarily to clear her husband. With the evidence law enforcement was gathering, the events of that devastating day came into focus. A month before the murders, Deanne Schultz confided in Donna that she was having problems in her marriage and was considering getting back together with an ex-boyfriend and moving to Minnesota. Donna tried to help Deanne through her marital problems and talk her out of moving, but at some point thought that perhaps a man's perspective could help Deanne. So she asked Mark if he would talk with her. Mark agreed, and he arranged for the two of them to meet halfway between her home and his current business trip location. They did. The affair began that night at a hotel and continued from there.
That lady
They would talk on the phone
literally
2 to 3
served her
times per
husband up
day
on a silver
and
platter.
romantically
Like, what a
connected in
dumb bitch.
hotels, in cars, and in their own homes whenever they could.
Wait, what?
Their respective spouses were completely in the dark about the affair, even as they all continued to go out together to dinners and gatherings. As far as Donna knew, she had the most loving, devoted, kindest husband a woman could ask for. She set off to visit her parents for a week while Mark was away on business. She returned to face the unpleasant shuttle ride home with Roger Harrington. Despite the ride being a troubling one for Donna, Roger was optimistic about his
Oh no.
future. He was proud of his new job with Bart, and he loved the van that he drove. The terrifying shuttle ride fell right into Mark's lap. He leaped at the opportunity to turn Harrington into a scapegoat. As soon as he heard of the incident, he insisted that Donna fully document every detail. Then, 2 days after the shuttle ride, he asked his coworker what would happen to their baby if Donna died before the adoption process was complete. 3 days after the shuttle ride, referring to Roger Harrington, he told Deanne, "I need to get that guy in my house." That same day, he called Ray Duffy, the owner of BART, to complain about the driver. He asked Duffy for Roger's last name and said he wanted to talk to the driver directly. Finding the request unusual, Duffy refused and said that he would talk to Roger. Roger was eager to work things out, so he gave Duffy permission to give his phone number to Winger. On the day of the murders, Mark called Deanne at work and asked her, "Will you love me no matter what?" She replied, "Yes." And he made another call on the day of the murder to Roger Harrington. Roger's roommate was there when he received the call, and it was very clear that Mark called Roger that morning to invite him to his house, not to warn him to stay away as Mark claimed. Roger was eager to work things out with Winger and get his job back. He told both his roommate and another witness.
It's crazy how like none
prior
of
to
this was
heading
caught
out
on the first
at
like
about
go
3:30.
though, you know, like it seems
According
pretty,
to the crime scene analysts and blood spatter
pretty
experts,
obvious.
once Harrington arrived and was inside the
Very
home,
lazy
Winger likely
investigation
forced
originally.
Harrington to his knees and shot him from the back of his head. Hearing the shots, Donna came rushing to the room, and Mark beat her to death with a hammer. He then called 911. But midway through the call, Roger began moaning in the background, trying to live. Mark concocted a flimsy excuse for hanging up so that he could finish Roger off without 911 hearing the final gunshot. A delay in between the two shots was consistent with both forensics as well as a neighbor's report that she heard the two shots.
Yeah, you
about
did the
5
Citadel
minutes apart
Easter
from each
egg,
other.
bro. Honestly, that shit
Police
looks
reclassified
terrible.
the killings as a staged domestic homicide. Roger Harrington was not a murderer.
It doesn't
but a
look fun
victim.
at all. I didn't
Winger
really
lured
like
to
that
his
map.
home to kill him.
I
and
liked
frame him for his wife's
Terminus
murder.
more personally.
On August 23, 2001, Mark Winger was arrested at his job. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and held on a $10 million bail. Mark asked a childhood friend to help him post bail, but the friend refused. With Mark Winger's arrest, the man who originally helped hail him a hero was now committed to proving him a heartless murderer and vindicating Roger Harrington. Roger's innocence was no surprise to the Harringtons. They never for a minute thought that the allegations against him were true, even when the case was closed. His mother insisted that despite his mental illness, he was not a violent person. And according to his sister, Barbara Howell, he was the kindest soul you'd ever encounter. Someone who would do anything for you, noting that if she needed a gallon of milk in the middle of the night, he'd be eager to run and get it for her. And how the last time
A
she
gallon.
saw him, he had stopped by to pick up baby clothes for a friend who didn't have much money.
The
His
fuck needs
family
a
insisted his
gallon in the
mental
middle of
illness
the night?
impacted what he said, but not his actions. His sister recalled the domestic altercation Detective Cox referred to, noting that during Roger's rocky marriage, he came home one day to find his wife and her ex-husband throwing his belongings out of their home. Roger understandably became upset and got into an altercation with the ex-husband. His wife tried to get in the middle of it, which is when Detective Cox showed up to break it apart, explaining his perspective about breaking up the domestic dispute. Trisha Ray, whose mother owned another trailer Roger rented, tried to convince police that Roger was harmless, even gentle and kind. She said, "It was frustrating that no one would believe us. I know what the police were thinking. Here's this man with a good name and a good job living in a nice house. And look at us. They thought we were trailer trash, and Roger was crazy." Despite his run-ins with the law, court and hospital records showed that while Roger was depressed and delusional, he was determined to never pose a threat to anyone but himself. As Winger's trial began, police acknowledged that they made grave errors during the first investigation, including throwing out blood evidence, returning Winger's gun to him, and turning over crime scene photos, the hammer, and other evidence to Winger's attorney. But their second
Another
investigation was
long bone?
solid.
Holy.
The prosecution set out to prove that Winger meticulously plotted and carried out
Brother.
luring Roger Harrington to his home, shooting him, beating his wife
Two
to
of
death,
them back
and
to
framing
back
Harrington for
almost
the
like
murder.
that? Holy shit.
Rebecca was confident right up until the end that the 12 jurors would see through to the truth and find her husband not guilty so he could come home. They did not. After 3 weeks of testimony and 13 hours of deliberation, on May 29, 2002, 6.5 years after Donna Winger and Roger Harrington were murdered, a jury found Mark Winger guilty of the 2 counts of first-degree murder. One of the jurors would later remark that, if you're going to go over to kill somebody, you don't bring a pack of cigarettes and something to drink, and just hope that the murder weapon's going to be there. But jurors overall
some
said
people
that the
might.
state's best evidence was the first evidence police ever collected, the 3 Polaroids. Mark Winger was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Damn. Alright, Pizzle, Miss Frizzle. Is weed too damn low? That's hilarious, Sean. Can't hear shit. Is weed too loud? Alright. Hi, buddy. Hi. They nerfed everything on that map. I don't know, the map just doesn't seem enjoyable, bro. Personally, I'm not a fan. Just finished rolling up. Holy fuck, it took you that long to roll a joint? It took you that long to roll a joint, bro? Holy. I don't think it's ever taken me that long to roll a joint. Oof. These motherfuckers are wild. Rookie numbers, bro. Suck up BO6? Yeah, BO6 sucks. Shit's just AI. BO6 is literally just AI. No creative talent whatsoever on that shit. You got PS5 in the game is shite. Yeah, I got it on PC and the game is shite. Kind of debating whether or not I should move that up. That was my last of the prayer pots right there. War zombies. It's not even zombies anymore. Yeah, I don't feel like zombies. I mean, Terminus was a good map though. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Terminus was actually a good map. Way better than Liberty. It's the best map in the game so far. Probably end up being the best map in the whole game actually. Boss fights actually, like, you know, somewhat challenging. The Easter eggs not like overly complicated. Good map. You know what I mean? Like actually like shit to do on the map. Terminus is probably the best map in the game. Map design. Yeah, I mean, the zombies map design's been pretty lackluster this year. Liberty Falls sucks. The new map, in my opinion, is just trash. They like advertise that as like a castle, and like 90% of the map you're literally fucking outside in a village. You got like 2 corridors underneath the castle. Like, it's fucking stupid. Fuck stupid. Oh, look at that. Oh, Rocky, relax. I'll take you outside here in a second, alright, buddy? You just wait. You just wait, sweetheart. I'll get you here in a minute. You just wait up, little guy. I got you. I got you. You just gotta wait. I'm just farming here, boy. Nope. Ooh, I was close to death. Come on. Okay. Alright. Another medium clue. That's sick. When you look at that, well worth staying for the kill. Alright, I'll be right back, boys. I'm gonna go take the pooch outside. Let's go, little guy. Oh, cracked my back. Let's go, little man. Get going. Get going. Here you going. You're the one whining, huh? Alright. I'm back. Back in action, baby. Burial. Gotta find something to watch. Uh, what is there to watch? I think I'm gonna end the stream and just watch some Sopranos and grind Scurrius, boys. I think that's the plan. So, yeah. Appreciate y'all for chilling. The Sopranos. The Gabagool. The Gabagool. The Gabagool. On to go. Let's the Gabagool. How can you say no to the Gabagool? Yo, you're on stream? Oh, thank you. I know. Appreciate it. We're gonna rip a fat toke, boys. Alright, boys, you guys stay out of trouble. Appreciate y'all. I'll be live later tonight. I'm just gonna watch some of this. I'll probably play some Apex or something tonight. Fuck what's that? Alright, but I'll catch you guys later. I'll definitely be live later. Both of y'all get out.